We'll go ahead and open the meeting. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. Welcome. Sorry for the delay in the start. We just waited for the quorum. And I have to find my approval of the agenda. I know, Chris, you said you had something for executive session.
Yes.
Okay.
Personnel issue.
Are there any other changes in the agenda, or can I have a motion to approve it?
I make the motion to approve the agenda.
Thank you. Any questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now I'll take copious notes, even though we have our secretary back on board.
I actually could not hear who seconded the motion.
Correct.
No, Corinne made the motion, Tim seconded it.
Thank you.
That's okay. Just so you know, there's only 3 of us, so it should be easy to keep track.
Oh, good. All right.
Okay. Teachers, staff, community, questions, comments? Everything going good?
As
Okay.
well as can be expected.
Thank
We're
you.
trying. We're still plugging away.
I was gonna say, I know you have masks on, but you can still talk.
Yes.
Okay. All right, we're gonna move on to, well, it says finance, but,
Lewis on the call.
huh?
Lewis on the call.
I know, Louis, can I delay you just a few minutes until Matt gets in here?
Sure, that's fine.
Thank you. We'll go on to the director's orders. Did anyone have any questions on the director's orders? I did approve them. Can I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the director's orders.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you, Corinne. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
That would be unanimous. Donna, just so you know. Okay, moving on, approval of the minutes of the special carousel meeting. That was a Gerksu virtual meeting. That was on August 4th. We did have a quorum there. Matt, Green, Tim, and myself. Oh, wait. Pretty good turnout, better than tonight. So because each district had a majority there, had their members there, we need to approve these separately. Do I have a motion to accept the August 4th meeting of Gerksu?
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
Can you project your voice, please?
I'm sorry.
Can you project your
I make
voice?
a motion to approve the meeting minutes from the August 4th meeting.
Thank you, Corinne.
I'll second that.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the minutes of our last meeting was September 14th. They have to be, if we accept them, we have to accept them as amended. I did put in who made the motions, the ones they were missing. Motion to approve the minutes of March 9th was Corinne, seconded by Matt. Those were unanimous. Motion to approve the minutes of August 10th. Again, it was Corinne and Matt. That was unanimous. The resignation of David O'Grady, Matt made the motion, Corinne seconded it. That was unanimous.
Are you just filling in went out? What is,
Yeah, I'm just putting them down so Shauna can update.
okay, gotcha. I thought
Okay.
so. I just wanted to double check.
And then we had a motion to approve the contract, horizontal moves and a revised contract for the Spanish teacher. Corinne made that motion, Tim seconded it, and that was unanimous. Motion to approve the extracurricular coach recommendations, salaries. Motion by Corinne, seconded by Tim, that was unanimous. We went into executive session at 7:50. Motion by Matt, seconded by Corinne, that was unanimous. Came out of executive session at 8:18. Motion was made at 8:20 by Matt to adjourn, and Tim seconded that. Anybody got any other changes to these minutes? Can I have a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve the minutes from September 14th.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Let's give that to you just in case, Sean, I didn't catch you on. Okay, we'll move on to superintendent's report.
Thanks, Lynette. So a few items to discuss. Obviously, on September 26th, the Governor Scott and Dan French moved us into step 3 of the Strong and Healthy Start through our reopening plan. As I said before, there weren't many major changes for us because due to our enrollment size and just kind of forward thinking in our abilities with our staff and our administration. We had a lot of the elements in step 3 already in place. So we had the key changes, obviously, for to step 3 will be we could begin to look at how best to utilize some of the larger spaces within Rutland Town School, being the cafeteria, the gym. I know that there's a kind of a misconception that step 3 is back to normal. I kind of heard that from some community members, and while we would love to get back to normal, or whatever that may be, we also have to be cautious. I think we've done a nice job of, thus far from a safety and health standpoint of getting to this 5th week, knock on wood, and I want to make sure that as we continue moving forward, we don't want to just kind of rush back and be kind of reckless with the way we handle these situations. So we are working with, the union, with their administration, staff, on how to move forward in kind of a safe way. The one thing that we discussed, part of that is, throughout the course of this year, we will be doing the perimeter, the health checks, the temperature checks, these things, make sure that, individuals enter the building, they are at a healthy state, they're ready, to work, to be educated, to be present. So those things will not be changing. There will be some more guidance from the state probably come up end of October in terms of a more updated Strong Healthy Start. I think that will be more reflective of, as we enter the cold months, what they might look like in terms of temperature checks, how we can handle things. Like right now we can utilize outdoor space, but I heard this weekend that there's a potential of snow in some of our areas at the top of the mountain. So it's just this starts to kind of occur like where it gets we're there, but we just have to make sure that we have plans in place that we don't have kids sitting outside when it's 20 degrees out and ready to go. So along the same lines, and I said this before, I think our teachers have done a phenomenal job, but I also would be remiss if I didn't say that our teachers are exhausted. Our teachers have worked very, very hard to get us to this point in a variety of ways. They're burning the candle at both ends. And I think what I just had a meeting with administrators and some union reps and some teachers today about moving forward about how we can build a more sustainable work day. And I think it's important for us that we did a good job of getting the building open, get us to this point. But I think moving forward, we just have to take a look at what the rest of the year is going to look like, whether in terms of with the in-person, with the remote. I think it's important for us just to be mindful that we are meeting the needs of our community, our students, as well as our staff. So we are currently in that phase where we're reevaluating, we're taking a look at things. We don't anticipate any drastic changes right now. And I say that, because so we don't know what the future is going to bring in terms of with health standpoints of those lines. But we do know that the current model that we're in right now, which is a 4-day in person and with the 1-day remote, will continue through at least the first quarter. Gives the kids to kind of evaluate, particularly as we move into flu season, and see where we're at. And for the next couple of weeks, we will be working with a variety of stakeholders to kind of build out a plan just for the winter season, but as well as get us through the end of the year. Make sure that, like I said, we meet the needs of all our stakeholders. Moving on to the open house, I think I can let Debbie and Sarah talk a little more about this, but obviously with conditions being as is, we've had to alter open houses this year, and I think our staff has done a phenomenal job of trying to think creatively about how what they can look like, and so I'll let them talk a little bit more about that there. I do want to talk about November 3rd, which is Election Day. There are 2 schools within our SU. Rutland Town will be one of them, which acts as a polling place. So on November 3rd, Rutland Town School will be on a remote learning day. There'll be no in-person instruction on that day. So just wanted to give everyone a heads up on that. So we're doing the same thing at Proctor High School for multitude of reasons. From a safety and health standpoint, obviously, as you have people coming in the building, you can't really screen everybody that comes through. And like I said, we've done a nice job. We don't want to compromise all the hard work that we've done by just being a little bit reckless on that day. So we do have a remote learning model in place that we do employ on Wednesdays that we can use on the 3rd. But then we'll be back on the 4th during the normal session. And the last thing I just want to talk about is just the equity, the formation of an equity team. As you look back at there's legislation passed a while back, but actually a task force which may get some more recommendations about equity, diversity, inclusion, hopefully by the spring in terms of standards to employ in our schools. But we also need to take a look at what equity, inclusion, diversity look like within our SU, our schools. So therefore, we're forming an equity team which provides of board members, community members, administrators, staff, all parties will be invited to be part of the planning process. We're going to take a look at some of the things we're doing well and some of the areas which we can improve, and just as we kind of build that out. And that will kind of coincide with equity policy that is currently being taken a look at in the Carousel Policy Committee right now. So.
Awesome. Anything for Chris? Okay. Co-principals.
Thank you. So as Chris said, we will be having a remote day on Election Day. Maps assessments have begun the last couple of weeks. We have almost all of our students that have completed them, and our interventionists have been great at pulling our remote learners to have them complete those assessments. This month, we also were fortunate that we were able to offer hot lunch a couple days a week to our students. That's a big deal. They've been getting almost the same thing all the way through spring, so there were some excited little kids that have a little bit of a change up there. And small changes that are occurring, just procedural things. Our younger kids are able to come pick up their own lunch, so we're not having to deliver to everybody. Excuse me. Soccer has started. We were hopeful to have 7 games, but Free and I heard you say there may only be a couple.
Today was the 3rd game, right, Maddie?
Okay.
3rd, we've had canceled due to kind of weather.
Yeah, okay.
And then there was the COVID outbreak.
Yeah. So right, so we were hoping to get 7 games in, but it sounds like there'll be a few less than that. Tapestry has started here in the cafeteria. We have about 20 students that are signed up. And we currently have 51 students that are learning remotely. When we wrote this last week, we were at 57, so we have a few more that we welcome back. We welcome all remote learners back in person. We would love to have all of our children back in the building. So yeah, about 15 have returned to in-person as of that was just a few weeks ago. So we have about 14% of our student population participating in remote learning. And then we also, Debbie will share our new maintenance director, Kelly Treya, has done a phenomenal job getting our building open and clean and healthy. And there's a full page of stuff that him and our crew has done here since July 1st.
Yeah, there's quite a list of all the things that have happened, so I think you'd be pretty impressed with that. If you walk around the building, you'll see that too. He's definitely a forward-thinking guy. He already has a plan for next summer. So, he already has a plan on what's gonna happen and trying to lay that all out and to be prepared. So if you have any questions, I'm sure he'd be happy to answer them. You know, you can always email him or contact him, but if you have any questions about any of these things, I'd be happy to answer as well.
Debbie, this one just jumped out at me of the 5 things that tested high in lead.
Yes.
So is that, because I know we talked about this before, like the testing in the water, like nobody's drinking out of those, right?
No.
Like what are they being used, or like cooking or anything? out of
So they've been turned off at this
Okay.
point. Those particular faucets or bubblers that did test high, we followed what the state required, and those were all immediately shut down or only used for hand washing. And he suspected what was causing it. It might have been clogged filters on the aerators. So the state has agreed to allow us to retest those. So he's in the process of getting that done. And then we hopefully will be able to open those again.
And I think it was surprising because they were newer faucets.
Yeah, they were the new ones, so
Yeah.
we were like, what is with that?
Really?
So yeah, so I think that's what made him suspect, and so we're gonna attempt to retest those faucets again.
Oh, awesome, good. That's strange. Thank you, and that is quite a list, I'm impressed.
Yeah,
I just have one question. There was just some confusion on the soccer team. I heard some parents, and they were like, do you mind asking? Some kiddos think it's a half day on Friday from home virtual learning. Some kids think there's no school at
this
all.
Friday,
Yeah, that's
there
right.
is no school this
There's
Friday.
no school at
Nope.
all.
No
There's
virtual,
in-service.
in
I
service all
thought so.
day.
They
Yeah.
thought the in-service was in the afternoon, and for some reason, some of the kids thought the morning. The sixth graders, I guess, thought the morning. Okay.
Marcia.
Listen, I tell my kids every day, nope, you have Friday off.
And then the clarification
I don't,
too,
but.
if on the 3rd for election day will be a full remote day, Wednesday will still be a half day morning remote. We won't change that. We want to keep the same schedule.
Okay.
Yeah.
So no one gets confused.
Okay.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, how many students were missing today that thought it was a holiday?
Oh, I had a couple parents call me that said their kids told them that it was a holiday. They have it every year. Usually Mrs. Rock and I have a bet. How many kids are going to convince their parents that there's no school today? So I only had 2 that I'm aware of.
Okay, yeah, maybe they're the same two that I said, no, really, there is school. I don't think they'd send the bus around if there wasn't any school.
Right.
So, great.
Went for trying.
And it is one of those holidays that some recognize, some don't, and I know it's confusing. Thank you very much. Moving on, personnel, resignations. We have received 1 resignation. It came in today, so that's why nobody has a report. We are going to discuss it in executive session, so I'm not even going to ask for motion right now on it. That's the personnel issue that's going to be an executive session. Other than that, Chris, you gave us the vacancy for Gerksu. I think ours was, the only one mentioning Rutland Town was the temporary school subs. Okay. Yeah, so we do have some temporary school sub positions for the town school. As you can imagine, everybody is just statewide, probably countrywide. It's hard to get subs, especially at the last minute. So if anybody's interested in serving as a sub, they get in touch with.
Myself or Wendy next week.
Okay.
Or Debbie or Sarah. So,
Okay, great.
a lot of options.
Okay, thank you. Contract recommendations, we do have 3 that were in your packet. One was for sports support staff, Nolan Woods. Extracurricular was Sean Dubos and Elizabeth McReynolds. Do we have any questions or comments? Motion?
What is it for, the mentor servant? What is it exactly?
We're required to have, in every school district is required to have mentors for new teachers. So these are teachers that are trained in being a mentor. And I know one of them is a mentor for a teacher at another GRCSU, a teacher that works at another school, not Rutland Town. So it's in the contract.
Okay, and the amounts are right, you know, I don't know.
Yeah, like they're
Right,
different,
yeah. Okay,
correct, yeah, they're
okay.
different based, depending on experience of the teacher.
Okay, so I make a motion to accept the contract recommendation.
Okay, second?
I'll second.
Any questions, comments? All approval?
Aye.
Aye.
And Shauna, just so you know, Matt has slipped in on us.
And company mask on, you can't see me smiling right now. but
No, I
I'm smiling.
can't. Any opposed? Okay, that'll be unanimous. Vacancies to be discussed. We don't have the next one, non-union. So you can just scratch that off, sorry. Chair's report. As everyone has guessed probably from the posts and Facebook, Maureen has, she's going to resign from the board, effective as soon as we can let her go. It would be the November meeting at the latest. You could do that one?
Yep.
We need.
Yep.
And we are in the process. We have 3 applicants that we will just, the board will discuss. We have to come up with how we want to do it first, to choose one. So Corinne, I am mad at you, but there is no choice. It's not like I can say no.
But it's for a good reason.
It is. She has a very good reason. Not that she needs to give one. No one does. But she will be missed. Seems like everybody on the board has different sections that they're very strong in. So I'm sure we'll find somebody to kick us in the butt. If not, I'm sure you'll chirp in and let us know what we're doing wrong. So we will discuss that later for the vacancy for the filling. There are, like I said, 3 people that have shown interest. And the next thing I want to discuss is, it's one of those only in Rutland Town deals. We had 1 or 2 meetings in person for the school board. Then when I took over as chairman, I happened to have been out of state. So we had a virtual teleconference. And pretty much I got accused of trying to hide things. That's why we were back to teleconference. It is not. Believe me, there's nothing to hide. This is the 2nd or 3rd meeting we've had in person since then. There is concern out in the general public. Parents are complaining. They would like to see us go back to teleconference. We're making the cafeteria germy by coming in. Yes, and I want to let everybody out there know that anybody that is in person have masks on. The cafeteria is cleaned after the meeting. So I just want to ask the board, they're just saying, and they are right, very few people are allowed into the school because of COVID. And they think it's kind of irresponsible for us to come in once a month and dirty up the place and leave. So I want to bring it out to the board because there's pros and cons to both. I don't really care either way. I mean, it'd be different if we had PEG TV here and people could see us. Because right now you're hearing the same thing, whether it's teleconference or we do it in person. This was kind of nice because after being isolated so long away from people, it's kind of nice to be able to see people again, for as far as I'm concerned. So I'm going to open it up to the board to tell me what you think. Tim?
I mean, I guess it's the first I'm hearing of it, so I haven't heard that feedback from the community myself. I'm not opposed to the virtual aspect. Seems like I've been in other virtual meetings and they've flowed pretty well, you know. Yeah, I don't really have a position, really. There's plenty of things that I think as a community we can be working through. I don't know if this is one that should occupy a lot of the conversation, but I'm not unopposed to going virtual. But I don't see any hurdles with the technology piece of it, or anything like that. Coming into, I don't know. I don't see any contentious conversations where I feel like the dynamic and vibe of the room will warrant being in person. I know, the budget's going to be a long nights on in front of a computer in regards to that. But like I said, it's the first time I've heard of this particular.
I think what it is was some of the people sending their children back in, the ones that were keeping them home because of the worry about COVID. I think us meeting, I think it's some of those new people, could be some, I don't know, I don't ask names. But I do know that we are the only one in the supervisory union that does meet in person.
Okay.
The rest of their meetings are all virtual.
I'm fine with virtual.
Okay.
But.
Matt, it doesn't matter what Corinne says, she's leaving.
My opinion is that we gotta resume some kind of normalcy in our lives, and I see other boards meeting virtually, and I just don't think it's proper. This board knows what my position is on all of this, and so I'm happy to continue the way we are. That's how I would vote. However, something happens in the community, numbers are starting to spike, we're starting to see something going on in some transmission here. Barring that, we just continue on the way we're going. That's how I'll vote.
Ladies,
Doesn't matter to me, I'm here.
how much of, what kind of problems do we cause by meeting in person?
I'm the one that has fielded a couple of phone calls in regards to that concern, and I've sent them to Superintendent and yourself. And I think they're concerned that there's not volunteers allowed in the building, but we're having board meetings in the building, and I've explained there's not children in the building during that time. I explained the hand sanitizer, signing in and out, answering the questions, wearing masks. But I have had a few parents with questions, concerns. Why are we the only ones, et cetera.
And we aren't confined to this space, coming in that entrance, so people aren't wandering around the building. We're pretty much right here, and it does get clean before you come in and after you all leave, so we're ready for the next day.
Maureen, your opinion does count.
Yeah, I definitely prefer like the in-person. I just think that there's a lot of documents to review. I personally think as long as board members are taking, responsibility and are, not traveling all over the place and, I'm not going anywhere except for my house and to the grocery store. I just think you have to kind of somewhat follow the governor's orders, right? How many people are allowed to gather at a time, I think, right? 150
Right.
outside, what is it, indoors, 75 people indoors. It just is infuriating because I'm sure everybody this weekend saw, the thousands and thousands and thousands of cars from all over the place. I think I saw probably 30 different, license plates. Everybody's coming into Vermont, and I think generally speaking, I think Vermonters are doing their personal responsibility of not traveling. And I don't know. I just personally, from the standpoint and with my background in public health, I think it's going to be like this for a long time. It's like either sit home in your house for 3 years and do everything, or you kind of take personal responsibility, wear the mask, wash your hands, social distance, limit gatherings. That's my personal standpoint on it.
Like I said, I don't care either way. It is harder for board members not to be in person because, like you said, the paperwork. Now, with budget time coming up, there's going to be a tremendous amount of paperwork, and I just am trying to figure out how to do it online and do the paperwork. And you have people talking, but you don't know exactly where they are, so you have to go through. But it is harder virtually as a board member, but I really don't care either way. Superintendent.
I'm fine either way. I do think there are a lot of benefits to being in person. I think, we look at, it talks about our, protocols we have in place, we take cautious steps. People want to enter, they put hand sanitizer, we're all appropriately distanced. And I think and like I said, we're confined to one location, so as we're walking all the way through the building to get to this spot. So, it's an easier cleanup for this. Obviously, there'd be more concern if we had more than 4, people here in attendance. If we had 75, 80 people, we'd have to really think about, can we safely house those people? I think the issue though is, as we dabble into like an in-person and also a remote, is just, and this is, I do thank Greg for being here, helping us up, but it's the quality of the interaction and the sound, and the fact that it makes it very difficult for us to, for one, for people who are calling in to hear us, or vice versa, for us to hear them. And so I think if we could improve that on that end, and I think part of just the facility which we're restricted to, and we're limited to what that is. So, like I said, I'm fine either way. It's nice to get out of the office. I don't like to sit at my desk. Just I feel like I'm on a computer screen all day. And I do believe as we get to budget season, particularly, there's some work to be done, and I think we could do it safely here. But like I said, I would look at it on a meeting-to-meeting basis. If we have a large turnout anticipated, that we could look at maybe and on the back end, Greg, something to maybe figure out just from a tech standpoint, just how to continue to improve the quality for all attendees, whether it be in person or remote.
Yeah, we can get a wireless lapel microphone and one person talks at a time and we can pass it around. That's the easiest way to do the audio issue, is to just get a lapel mic.
Yeah, I did hear some concerns last meeting that the people on telephone could not quite hear us. So we kind of repositioned the mic, and hopefully that it's working better. Is it better for the people out there listening?
Much better.
Thanks, Louis.
Okay, board, what's your,
Is a
what's your
motion
thoughts?
even needed, or do we just kind of?
No, I
look at
mean,
it
right
on-
now, we did have a motion that we meet in person. So unless you want to change it, that would stand. But, okay, for now, we will continue, the board will continue to meet in person. Should there come a time when we have more than 4 or 5 visitors, we'll have to look at how to distance. But as I say, we come in the door, come directly into the cafeteria, and then directly back out. Just to reassure the parents out there, we are not wandering the school. So if we do have anything, colds, flus, or COVID, we're not spreading it throughout the school. Okay, Louis.
Good evening, everyone.
Sorry, I forgot you.
No problem. So tonight starts the official discussion on budget. Tonight's discussion will hopefully not be too long of one. We're just going to go through the process, just get any board feedback on what they want to see in the budget process this year, any parameters, any priorities, stuff like that. And then next month we'll start actually digging deeper into the actual budget. So in the packet was the budget timeline. There's two sections to it. There's the GRCSU and then the district section. At the last SU meeting, we went over this in regards to the SU and just touched upon the district piece. But just to go through it quickly, so right now we're in the process of developing the SU budget. We'll be bringing the first draft to the board on October 28th for review. At that time, the SU board will tell us what direction they want us to go in, give us feedback. We'll make any necessary edits and bring back a final version to the SU board at the November board meeting. If there's any need, we'll discuss this at the October 28th meeting, if there's any need to have an extra meeting, that'll be discussed based on where the board wants to be and where we are, if they feel there's a need to have an extra meeting or not. So if not, then we'll be looking for an approval of the SU budget at the November board meeting. And the reason we have such a quick turnaround time on that is so that we have final numbers that we can use in the local district budgets. On the district side, at this time, I'm still pulling together information. I've sent a budget worksheet to the principals with the staffing and many of the expense pieces. They're reviewing that, and then we have a meeting set up for next week where we'll discuss school level priorities, what's going on, what things they need to change, edit, delete, add. And based on that feedback in that meeting, I will put together a first draft. I'll review the first draft with the superintendent and the principals prior to the November local board meeting. Based on that feedback, I will turn around and present a first draft of the FY22 Rutland Town budget to the Rutland Town Board at the November board meeting. So we'll review it at that meeting, make any necessary edits, and then we'll come back with the second draft in December, and then the third draft in January, and we'll be looking for an approved Rutland Town budget sometime in mid-January. And then after that, it's a matter of just preparing for the town report and preparing public relations material to get out to taxpayers and preparing for town meeting. So that's pretty much the timeline. So at tonight's meeting, I think we just need to have an open discussion as to if there's any certain priorities or parameters you want me to put into the first draft of the budget. Or do you want us to just bring back the best first budget the draft we can as we see it, and based on principal feedback, current staffing, stuff like that, or if there's any changes that you know about, like stuff you want to put in, stuff you want to take out, then you can tell us that tonight.
Okay. I imagine, like every year, it's going to be the best budget you can present, the lowest budget you can present. And then typically that's after principal, superintendent, school needs, usually after or during the first budget presentation is when we get the list of wants, needs, that we can consider. It's hard to sit here at first blush and just say what we need. But typically, I mean, we know which ones that we can't do anything with. I don't think there's any big projects out there that we were considering. But like I said, usually the principals are the ones that will look at it and see what is needed. We still have some uncertainty as far as our money goes, how much we're going to have to pay back. And we won't get a true idea what that is until after elections. Nobody is going to be a doomsdayer and say that, you know, Rutland Town's got to repay, or that you're going up $300,000 to repay for costs. Nobody's going to do anything negative until after an election. We've been in that position before. We've gone through, we've done budgets and then found out that we were looking at a 25% increase because the state did something. So I'm just kind of hoping we don't have that type of heart-tearing issue this year. Matt, we'll start with you. Anything different?
No, I was wondering what capital projects we might have around. I'm not familiar with anything. I think we need to allocate maybe 10 or 15,000 to the field, but we have to discuss that, and maybe not even that. It may be part of a bigger project. We've had a chance now to play at least a few soccer games out there. We got some uneven surfaces. Could be interesting to see, you know, what we can do with that. So I'm not even sure that could be a $10,000 or $15,000 project. I think it may be more of talking to someone that has knowledge of what took place in Proctor when they redid their field last year, as to what that took and what happened over there. So that may be something we look at. We keep playing on it the way it is. The one thing I know the only other thing that I know that we have out there is the preschool playground. I don't think we completed that this year.
Right, that we do.
Yeah, we've got about, hopefully,
I did see that part in
yeah, we're
the plan.
purchasing a bunch of equipment.
Okay,
that.
I knew it was in there.
And then we'd like to, still have a little bit more funds left to buy the rest of the things and put it in next summer. That's part of.
We were really
Our plan.
frugal with voters last year on what we could do, and we're gonna do what we can with what we have, but it's not a lot.
Yep.
So,
A small amount. And Mr. Rowe had also talked to me about, it's kind of nice being down here having the games. I mean, a lot of people think we came down here because we did this work on the field. That wasn't the case. I think they were bringing the games down here anyway, regardless of what work's been done around the school. It just happened to be a timing issue. But one thing that he spoke about, that he would make a request to the board, is that we get a scoreboard up on the side of the building, and it'll be handheld remote control. I don't know what that unit costs, but I know there's been some chats, but so possibly it's not, an entire field renovation or something. But it would be something along those lines of, the scoreboard getting done, maybe some odds and ends with the trails. We're now at the point that everybody's looking for trail signs out there. I'm starting to see increased use, which is wonderful. We finished the Grover Drive segment over there. Tom Brace did a wonderful job for us. And, but now it's getting to the point that some signs are gonna have to be out there, dug into the ground and, things like that. So there's
Just so
definitely
you
a
know,
need. for that.
Maintenance, our maintenance staff is mowing the path.
Yep, and so I heard about that, and I knew maintenance was out there, and I thought that was great. And so now it's a matter of, getting some signs out there, but someone's gotta dig the holes, the posts, get the signs made, so. I don't think an entire field renovation is in the cards yet, but certainly to start to smooth out odds and ends here or there, we can start to get there, so maybe it's with the school board or the scoreboard and the signage and stuff like that, but otherwise, the preschool playground, I think we need to add that. And maybe look at what our small capital projects will be for this year, but I couldn't see anything else standing out there. I know we're waiting for paving, but that's coming in from the town.
Right,
I couldn't see anything else.
thank you. Corinne?
No, I can't think of anything.
Tim?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Yeah, and like I said, these issues are brought up. There's nothing that can come forward that we haven't discussed. It seems like every year it's who gets first place and depends on how the budget looks. So if you could just, that enough information for you, Louis?
It is, yes. So I will work with the principals and we'll try to come up with a budget that will meet everybody's needs.
Awesome. I have got one question for you, Louis. I noticed that the state now has come up with additional funds available for schools for the havoc issues they're having to replace or fix. Can we apply for any of that, seeing how we just went through it?
Are you referring to the HVAC money through Efficiency Vermont?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yep.
Yep. So each school has been working with their own representative from Efficiency Vermont and seeing what projects are needed in the school to increase the efficiency of the ventilation. So Rutland Town does have a grant agreement with Efficiency Vermont. I do have it here in my bag. I'd have to pull it out to see exactly how much it's for, but it's for testing, controls, and fixing anything that's necessary in order to have better airflow in the buildings. So I'm just pulling that out.
Yeah, that's on the list, the maintenance list.
Right,
before
but-
bullet, so.
Yeah, so I know that we had done quite a bit of work in the last year or so. And I was just wondering if there was any recompense we could get for it.
Yeah, so we're definitely getting a grant for Rutland Town through Efficiency Vermont. And I Deborah, I don't know, or Sarah, I don't know if you know specifics while I'm trying to pull out the grant agreement, but it's.
Yeah, we received a grant from them for $55,000 for updating some of our the electronics. So what we did in the past was we kind of replaced and updated the mechanics, and now we're connecting them all so that we can get control over each unit ventilator within the building to get better control of air.
Okay.
We've investigated, our exhaust system and getting that all in line, and that's what, our director Nate's been working on with Efficiency Vermont. Had them come in and do a survey, and then they, came up with this plan together, so he's been working very closely with them on that.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
Yep. And I do have the grant agreement. Yeah. So the total project cost is $64,000. The grant amount through Efficiency Vermont is $55,000. And we're looking to put the remainder of the cost, which is approximately $9,000, through the CRF COVID funds. And the main pieces of the grant are to install CO2 sensors in each classroom, to monitor ventilation and enable future energy savings, customized scheduling, two-way modulating heating valves, and replace controls on 22 existing classroom unit ventilators.
Awesome. Any questions or comments on that? Okay, Louis, anything else?
No, that's it.
Awesome. You have a good night. Sorry to have to make you hang out with us.
No problem. Have a good night.
You too. Okay. Moving on. Hell to get old. Okay, we have policies. In front of you, we have 3 policies. They're down in a certain order, but none of them, the 2 of them are not new. The only one that is new is, if you want to pull it out, the driver's ed for Rutland Town students. We currently have no policy on driver's ed. In my 35 years, I've never been requested to pay for driver's ed. It's always been the policy in Rutland Town that you get driver's ed through your high school you go to. The only reason this was brought up is we do have, I believe it was a new resident who has a 11th grade student, not in any of the local schools, if I'm not mistaken. Not in, I think it's Twin Valley or something like that. And they would like us to pay for their son's private driving lessons. We have never done it. It would set a precedent. So talk to Chris. We've looked at it. The proposed, or the, should say, the policy in front of you is one that, this is Middletown or Wells. This is Wells policy. And pretty much they're the same for Wells and Middletown. It's up to 400. They are recommended that if the school they attend does not have driver's ed, that they take it within our school district, whether it be with one of our sister schools that has the program, whatever. And so this is just out there. We have nothing. I mean, it could be as simple as Rutland Town, knows that their students will take driver's ed through their high schools of choice, period. But for questions of people that are coming in from other areas that are used to just sending in a bill, this bill was $750, and I just cringed thinking of paying that for all our high school kids. I mean, just financially, that was outrageous, but that is a private driving. But so I'm going to open up the floor and see what you people think. Go ahead.
Can I clarify what the question is? Are we talking about the policy, or are we talking about?
We're talking about the policy. We should have a policy. What do we think that policy should say? I mean, we have never run into this, ever. And even to the extent that we had an 8th grader that drove himself to school the summer he graduated finally. We didn't pay for his driver's ed either.
This is me smiling.
I know, I see you.
I see it as a really minor issue, so.
It is, but, we should put a policy in there only because this has been holding 2 or 3 weeks, because I just couldn't believe it when poor Louis called me and said, what do you want to do with it? Needless to say, it has not been paid.
I'm fine with the policy as written, it's provided at the school that the person is at, if there is no ability for it, then we can cover it, I believe that's what the policy
So
says.
should we add in like the student's age to be more specific? Like how old do they need to be able to take a driver's ed course? Do they need to be 15?
Yes.
So I think it's important to probably.
Well, and that's why we've never run into it.
Right, so is this person that is looking for the bill older than 15?
He's in 11th grade, yeah,
So that doesn't fall in our school, I don't understand why they're.
because they're town residents.
Oh.
So typically our kids go to high schools that offer driver's ed.
Right.
This student is homeschooled, but is getting high school credits through, Upper Valley, something like that. So they have to take private driver's ed.
No, what if,
And it doesn't go through that private school? No.
I guess not.
I guess I don't know if that's an option.
Because you have to be in person.
yeah, so, a hypothetical, I guess, not really in where we're at now, but I know driver's ed have been getting pushed off, right? Because you can't do virtual driver's ed. So there's a backlog.
Thank goodness.
So what if students say, well, I can't take it this year, I can't take it for 18 months, but I turned 16 and I want to go
Well,
take a private.
they would still be in school, so they would still
Policy
qualify.
says,
Right.
This policy's already got problems then, because if the school's not gonna offer it, then we have to pay it outside.
Right.
Well, I haven't heard of anyone having trouble.
They haven't figured it out yet.
Some private schools, I'm sorry, I don't know if I can comment, but some private schools don't offer driver's ed.
correct.
And through Rutland Town, as you know, students can choose to go to a private school. So
Right.
my sister went and we had to pay for
Right.
driver's ed personally for her to have it. So there's
Right.
some schools that don't.
For everyone that is wondering, you included, this one, what it basically says is if you are going to a school, high school that provides it, that's where you should get it. If the student school does not offer driver's education, or if the student is homeschooled, reimbursement of $400 will be made to the party, parent or guardian of the student to attend a public or private driver's education. That is what, like I said, Middletown Wells does. It's their responsibility. Basically, they would have to pay anyways, and then we would reimburse up to $400. But I don't think it quite stresses enough that, well, if the student school does not offer, I mean, it's pretty clear cut. It's always been your high school offers a driver's ed, you take it there. We don't reimburse anybody. So this one, and I never did really think about the homeschoolers before, shame on me. We've never even been asked by them. And I don't know what the going rate is. I know it's less if they say Proctor has a driver's, I think Proctor and West Rutland both, right? And Pulteney, they all offer driver's ed. So if it's one of our Rutland Town students and being a sister supervisory union school, we should be able to get them through that. So as far as the actual process right now, I have no idea, but everybody's in the same boat.
So I believe that Wellspring policy says that they have to take it within RSU, otherwise there's no reimbursement.
Oh, okay. What do you think? Should that be part of the policy?
I like this policy as written, and I don't have an issue with covering the $750.
Yeah, I do.
The only reason I say that is it's not offered with homeschooling, and the other students are getting it at school. This person's homeschooled, they're within the district, they need to be treated equally or at least get something instead of zero. So if the ones at school are getting it offered for free, and the ones being homeschooled are getting $0, that's not treating them equally. So that's my.
But they went ahead, and I supposedly, I don't know if he's had if this is a bill after the fact or if, usually you just don't present a bill. You find out what's included, not included. Could have been, we're taking it from one of our sister high schools. But no, just to be sent an arbitrary bill is not in the taxpayer's best interest in anything. I'm sorry that they went through this. Hopefully he has not taken it. They have not paid that bill. I mean, if we go through this and say reimbursement up to 400 because he's homeschooled, then they would at least get 400 towards it, which is fine. That's a policy. But I mean, and it shouldn't be a hardship if he's homeschooled and a Rutland Town resident to take the driver's ed out of one of our local high schools.
Do we have when the time period was going out?
I didn't look at it that closely. Do you remember, Louis?
Do I remember what?
Is the invoice like broken down, Louis? Like, does it say, is it just like a flat rate bill, or does it say like number of hours? Is it, kind of time bound and specific?
It was a flat rate bill, and I'm pretty positive that it has already been taken. This is after the fact.
Yeah, the driver ed required is pretty specific in terms of hours of driving and all that other stuff, right, Chris? I mean,
Yes.
it's very specific, and I know that like at the high schools, they'll take students from other schools if they have room. And that sometimes that happens and sometimes that doesn't happen.
Right.
So there's always a waiting list, I know at Proctor, that was when I was there, so.
And I talked to Lewis today about this, about possibly expanding the opportunities that Proctor, West Rutland, Colby to accommodate these situations. So that if there's a Rutland Town resident who, for one reason or another, at their home, their school does not offer driver's ed, that we do have the capability to offer them a spot, that they would be waitlisted.
I ask, Louis, does the bill appear legitimate? I mean, there's no one disputing that this is an actual bill, correct?
Correct. I mean, I haven't looked into it that closely because we weren't actually to the point to pay it. So I'm assuming it's legit.
Okay, so I would just get this moving forward, subject to verification. I'd make a motion to approve the driver's ed bill with the pleasure of the board.
Either
I'd
way.
make a motion.
Are we approving the bill, or are we approving the policy?
No, the bill, subject to verification.
So you want to pay the $750 bill?
That's the motion that's on. the
Okay,
floor.
I just want,
Take care of that one.
But I think he said he already paid it.
I know.
So,
He already paid it?
do I have, I'm sorry, what?
He paid it?
No, we have not paid it. I have not paid it. I wouldn't pay it.
oh, okay, gotcha, sorry, I misunderstood that.
Okay.
Family paid it, he thinks.
Gotcha, okay.
I have a motion on the floor to pay the $750 bill for student for driver's ed that they've already taken. Do I have a second? Motion fails due to a lack of a second.
I'd make a motion to approve the new policy for driver's education for Rutland Town residents to be properly warned of how to do it.
For the new policy?
For the new policy, so the motion would be to adopt the new policy.
I would second that.
The only question, I agree with Matt, but I'm just wondering, how did we come up with this
That-
400?
yeah,
Is that
That is,
the going rate, like if we, I'm just wondering, if it's 400 to 750 is a pretty substantial difference, so I'm just wondering.
I don't know, I'm going by, that is what last year, and I think these policies were put in place last year, were 400, and that's what Middletown and Wells did. And
Do you
they're
know,
paid
like,
8.
How many companies there are locally? Like, I
No.
don't know anything about drivers at some.
No, I think they're basically, like I said, one of them said you must take it from a sister.
I mean, does
School.
400 seem reasonable? Do we know that that's kind of the rate of what they are? I just, I
That's,
don't know.
I know, that
anything
seems
about
to be
this.
what they thought when they passed their policies last year. I don't know. Like
I
said,
believe Proctor charges $350.
Okay,
So Louis, do you think getting that bill at 750, that seems a little bit steep and a little strange that it's that much?
Well, if it's a private driver's ed program, I can see it being that much because there's maybe less kids in the program. Where if it's taken at a public high school, there's more kids in the program, so they're spreading the cost over a larger amount of people.
Okay, all right, so then let's do the 400, you second it, right? So do we want to go ahead and vote?
any
on
more
it?
discussion? Do you have any discussion? Now, of course, this is not going to affect tonight. because it is a policy, it has to be warned a couple times. But we can go ahead and reimburse up to 400 based on our discussion tonight to that one person, right?
Correct. And I can look into that rate, and if there's a change in that rate, we can, at the next board meeting, then if you vote to approve, you approve that new rate.
Okay.
The Allstate driving instruction in Rutland is $675. So that's a local company.
Listen to Mr., I'm on my phone looking crap up at the meeting.
Yeah, well, that's helpful, because I don't even know.
It is.
It's
a
hard
personal-
to make decisions when you don't know anything about the companies, who's out there.
Right.
what the going
Well, and that's
rates are.
just it. That's why their wells in Middletown say, come to the school district first, the supervisory union first, and we will fit you in. I mean, we're talking homeschoolers or private school that doesn't offer it. You're not talking a handful of kids.
Right,
So chances of them getting into one of our,
yeah.
and thus saving the district money and keeping them alive.
So I
So,
think we can vote on it. Matt made the motion, you second. so
okay,
I think we're done.
I can't take the motion tonight. Sorry.
Yeah, I know.
Do you want to revise, yeah, I know.
I do policy and procedures on these.
I'm
so
sorry,
this
do
is
you want
a
to change
month
that
ago.
to pay the bill $400? Reimburse that bill $400?
Sure, I'm gonna make a motion to, pay a reduced amount of $400 towards the bill that's submitted.
Okay. The other motion, by the way, in second has been voided.
I'll second
Matt's new one. Okay, any discussion on reimbursing the resident 400 towards that driver's ed? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so we will go ahead and warn this. Chris is going to look at the prices. And at next meeting, we'd be able to approve the policy. Also in your packet are two more policies. These are pretty much the way they were right in our, I don't think any changes have been made from our regular Rutland County Supervisor Union. One is on the board member conflict of interest. The other is just board meeting agenda preparation. Do I have any discussions, questions, changes that you would like looked at? And just to remind you that the policy, Gerksu has a policy committee that we're serving on. And there's another virtual telephone conference. Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and we can vote on those at the next meeting. Any old business? Any new business?
I was curious what's happening. I don't know if it's okay to talk now. Is it or not?
Pardon?
Is it okay to talk now?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Those entrance tickets. I have not been sending my kids with them for about the last 4 weeks, and nothing's happened. A part of the reason I haven't been sending them is, to me, if I'm sending them to school, I'm certifying that they are healthy, and they're getting their temperature checked when they go in. And my kids have said no one collects them, and so I just stopped doing it. I'm not saying that's right. I'm just admitting that I have not been filling it out every morning. So my curiosity is, what does happen to them? And if that's something that you're continuing with, and if it is something you're continuing with, what about doing like one sheet that you have for every student that the parent says for the remainder of the school year, I certify I will send my child without a temperature, without traveling out of state, et cetera, and then keeping that in their file instead of having all these papers that people are basically wasting, especially if they're not going anywhere. But it's also increasing transmission because you're taking it from the house and bringing it into the school, and then it's mixing. I understand the idea behind it, but I don't understand what really happened, yeah.
So we don't bring them necessarily into the building to other people. There's a bucket, and they go in the bucket, and then we take the plastic bag, and I bring them to the nurse. And the nurse goes through all of them, bags them, and keeps them for 2 weeks. And we can't not allow kids if they want an admission ticket in. So I agree, I've asked this question even to our nurse, like if they come in, I take their temperature, but that's one of the procedures that we're, I think our COVID coordinator, if I'm not mistaken, Chris, he suggested we have that admission ticket. We did amend it to include a reminder about traveling. So I've asked the same questions, like what's the purpose of this? Can we do this digitally? It seems like a lot of wasted paper. It's a lot of manpower, like cutting up the pieces of paper and silly stuff like that.
And it's really, and it's not super safe for the nurse to get those every single day.
Yeah,
and have
she's
to go
there
through
with
them.
gloves and goes through them.
But now if your children have been attending and haven't been bringing them,
We can't deny.
We can't deny them entrance. So
Okay.
a lot of parents don't. And I've similar parents, they're like, I sat there to see what would happen. I'm like, you could just
Well,
call me and
the
tell
first
me.
few days, no one collected them, and so I was like, all right, I guess it doesn't matter that much.
Yeah, they're in buckets at entrance, so like, yeah, that's
Or
what.
maybe my kids didn't know where to put them. 'Cause to be fair, I have a different entrance because my youngest goes in a different door.
Yeah,
And so it's a little bit confusing anyway.
okay.
So then when they started going through the older kids went through the regular door, they didn't know where to put them. So they bring them to class and then and I didn't really like the idea from the start for the reason of extra chance of transmitting something and what have you.
We kept hoping for an app.
Well, an app
Yeah.
or I still think you could have a form that you require all parents send in and you keep in the children's record with their emergency numbers. I don't know.
We'll bring that to the COVID coordinator.
We're required to ask this question on a daily basis.
Oh, we are required to do.
Yes, that's part of the protocol. So, I know it is a pain as a parent, I understand, but it's one thing. So I think the state has been touting the digital app for a while now. It's supposed to be released before the start of school. And each week they say, let's just email and we'll get you in the beta. And people are waiting. So I think we're looking at, the minute we can go digital, obviously, it's still, I know it's a pain, but that's part of that perimeter, that screen, is those questions have to be asked on a daily basis.
It still would be safer to do it by an email than to do it by paper.
We've talked
Sure.
about that, like a Google form that
Yeah.
parents fill out or
It
something.
doesn't have to be an app.
okay. I think that makes a great conversation for your coordinator and everything. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for your honesty. I just want to see what happened.
Thanks, you, you're not the only one. So they just wanted to see what happened.
Our next meeting will be November 9th. It will be an in-person or teleconference. And that will also be the beginning of budget season. Maybe that's why I never get any hunters on my board. Because it's kind of the same time as hunting season. But anyways, that's near the here nor there. Do I have a motion to go into executive session for personnel?
I make a motion, we go into executive session for personnel reasons.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Matt seconded. It is 7:20. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you for attending.